Okay, so we're back in Audacity, and I took some of the files that we were I was showing you that I was messing around with earlier, and I went ahead and made something with it so that we can see some different things that we can do to export it. So this is what it is so far. Inspiration is something I find in everything. I can find it in looking at a bird on a wire, because I know it'll fly away at some point, or in a stop sign. Graphically speaking, they're succinct and fundamentally beautiful in their elemental nature. And well, they also inspire change, to stop. I'd like to think I'm inspired by happiness, but the reality is that I feel a lot less creative when I'm happy than when I'm lonely. Loneliness is one of the greatest inspirations for creativity ever. It's like hot air that really needs to move into a cooler place. No matter, it needs to move. It's not content staying the same. I think that's what inspiration is, really. The motivation to move, to make, to do something, anything. Okay, and then this just fades out right at the end here. Okay, so ended up layering all of these and pulling some drum beats in and using fade outs and the envelope tool. You see all of these silhouettes here where it sort of is low and then it gradually gets higher. That was using the envelope tool, like this tool here. So you can, if I click on that, you can see all of the points that I had added on these different tracks to expand and make parts louder and make parts quieter and so on, right? And so that's how you can use that tool to make things do what you want in terms of the volume. Now the other thing too that I had used, especially right here on the drum beats, is I had used fade outs, which is under the effect right here, and you can add multiple fade outs and you can select different sections and add it and compound it over multiple applications of it. All right. Some other things that I had done to get the beats, for instance, the beats to match, is I went to a website online, and there are plenty of websites where you can figure out by tapping your finger to the beat. You can figure out how many beats per second, or excuse me, beats per minute the music is. And so if you want to make the tempos match, that's where you would go into effect, and then you would go into change tempo. And then there's this place right here that allows you to change the track's original beats per minute to match another track's beats per minute. So anyway, so those are some of the things that I'd done. Now, one of the things that I did not do that I want to show you is I still have a mono track here, and it's my voice track. So you, like I said before, if you expect to output any of these tracks independently of each other, then what you would want to do is go ahead and duplicate that so that it is a stereo track. The other thing that you can do if you wanted to have it sound a little different is, you could change the intonation in one side versus the other side, whatever. I'm just going to duplicate the track, and I want to show you how you can make something from mono into a stereo track. So you would select the track, and then you're going to go up to Edit, and then you're going to choose duplicate, or you can also do Control D or Command D on a Mac. And so what that did is that duplicated my other channel down here. So I'm going to move this up, right? So they're next to each other. I can see them together. And for the top one, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to choose that to be the left channel. And for the bottom one, I'm going to choose that to be the right channel. And then now what I can do is I can say make stereo track, and it combines the two of them together. And so now I've got a left and a right. And the other thing that you can do also, I didn't really mention this, but you can change the volume up and down for the left and right channels. So maybe one side's louder than the other, but I want them to be equal. So now that's stereo. The other one down here is the Requiem music, and so if I wanted to possibly export that out separately as well, I definitely want that to be stereo. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, where I select this channel or this track and go to duplicate it. Oops, and we're going to scroll up here, and then like I said before, you're going to choose the name, and then you're going to make it the left channel here, and then this next one we're going to choose right channel, and then up at the top we're going to say make stereo track to combine the two. Okay, so I think that these are all stereo tracks now, right? And I'm going to save my file. Don't forget to save your project. And then the thing that you could do now is you can export this entire thing as a single file. You can then export pieces and parts. So I want to show you a little trick. If you decide that you don't want to export everything, let's just say that you wanted to export a portion of a song. So like maybe I only wanted this portion of this particular track. One thing that I could do is I could go up here to say File, and then I could say Export Selected Audio, and that would only export what I have selected and nothing more. You can also do this across multiple tracks. So like for instance, if you wanted to just do a test file, you could also make your selection, and then you could drag it down for multiple tracks, only for the ones maybe that you wanted. If you wanted to isolate them and listen to them, you can go over here and say File, Export Selected Audio. If you just do Export Audio, what it's going to do is it's going to export every track that is not muted, right? So you can either mute a whole bunch, or you could say, hey, I just want this one to be solo. And then what that does is it mutes all the other tracks. So that's handy if you just want to isolate one that you want to actually listen to. And if you take solo off, of course, it goes back to showing all of them at being audible. Okay, so if you wanted to see what it sounded like to make the song, you know, maybe without the drums, for instance, you could mute that, and then you could just go to export audio, and what that would do is it would export the entire track, or the entire composite of all these tracks, but without the drums. But if I wanted to just go ahead and do everything, I would make sure that nothing was on solo or mute, and I would just go ahead and say export audio, and you're going to tell it where you want to make it. And so I might do something like audio, and then I'm going to create a new folder and say maybe final clips or something like that. And then I have mine as, I'll just call this composite, and the word is inspiration. So we'll say composite inspiration. Now, again, I had told you before, you know, like I don't necessarily recommend that you make some giant big thing that, you know, that you're going to have to find video to match. It's not that you can't do that, because you can. It just makes it a little bit harder. And so I'm also going to save it. The other thing I'm going to do is not save it as an MP3. A lot of people are going to assume that that's the thing you save it as, but you want to actually save it as this AIFF, because AIFF is the highest quality format file that you can save. And whenever you take this into Premiere Pro, when you import that in, you want to be using and starting with your highest quality file. MP3 is a compression format, so It's better if you don't start with a compression format that then saves into another compression format, because all you do every time you resave compressed files is that you just end up compressing them more and more and more and degrading them a little bit more each time. So an AIFF is a good choice. So I'm going to save that, and it says your tracks will be mixed down to 2 stereo channels in the exported file, meaning it's just going to be one stereo file. Say okay, that's fine. And then this is where you get to put some metadata in for your tracks. So I'm going to say this is inspiration, my name, track number 1. That's not the year. Let's just say it's 2020. And that is not what I ended up using. We used Audacity. Okay. You could give it a genre. You can do whatever you want. Comments, whatever. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and just say okay. And then that's how you export your file. All right. And then it makes that file. And then if you want to come and test your file, you would go find where you saved it. I saved it in Final Clips. And so I can open this. It's going to open in iTunes for me. Inspiration is something I find in everything. I can find it in looking at a bird on a wire, because I know it'll fly away at some point. Or in a stop sign. Graphically speaking, they're succinct and fundamentally beautiful in their element. I'm going to just sort of skip through it. Make sure that it caught everything. And see, look what it did. This is a problem. It's getting all this dead noise at the end, which I don't need. I don't want all of that, right? So here, I'm going to quit out of iTunes. So that was a mistake. And what it's doing is it's catching all this extra space at the end of this track where my voice is, this inspiration track. And really what I want it to do is I want it to end whenever this last fade out, or actually the longest fade out ends. And so that's going to be this first track. So what I'm going to do to remedy that is I'm going to make a selection of all my tracks all the way down to here. I'm just going to, because this one actually ends, I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm just going to hit the delete key because I don't need that. And now I can go and say export audio, and it should fix that for me. And I'm just going to save over my old file. And yes, I do want to save over it. It's fine. This is all good. And once it saves, I can go back there and I can test it. So let's go listen to it again. I'd like to think that's what inspiration is. And there we go. It fades out and then it properly ends on the dime. Okay. And so I'm pretty.
Hello, this is.
Okay, that wasn't part of the song. That was playing the next track in my iTunes, which was a phone recording. Anyway, okay, so that's how you can export stuff. Now, if you, as I said before, like if you wanted to export these out independently, we could just say solo, and then we can just go here and we'll do export audio, and let's just call this one. We'll call this going under edited. I'll say going under piano edited. Okay. And I'm going to change the track title to going under edited. And the thing is that this isn't mine. This actually belongs to somebody else. And so this is where you would actually put the author's name in. And I have that written down somewhere, and at the moment I can't remember. So hang on just a second. Okay, it was a guy named Dexter Britton. Okay. All right. Okay. And so I'm just going to say okay. And there we go. And so you could do that for any and all of the tracks that you wanted to. I'm not going to go through and do any more. One other thing that I forgot to mention to you is every time for a while I wasn't paying attention. Whenever I would select something, here, let's just take this off, and I would select something with this selection tool, you would see like a little clock on all the other uh, things that were not selected. If you want to get rid of that, what it is, it's a syncing tool. If I had that turned on, this little clock up here, then it tries to keep everything in sync. So if you turn that off, that's one of the things that's going to allow you to move your tracks independently of other tracks. So that's really important. Like if I wanted to take this and move it over here, it wouldn't work if I had that syncing tool on. For instance, if I had that turned on and I tried to move it, it would move everything. Okay, so that's just a thing I think I might have failed to mention, but I want to make sure that you are aware of that. And something else that's really handy is that you can expand this out to fit in the entire window. That's what this one is. And then if you want it to everything to make sure to fit it in the screen, you can click this one, and one will expand and one will shrink it. Okay. Anyway, so that's going to be kind of it for Audacity. You can poke around and find new things. And so anyway, when you're finished and you need to make some uploads to the server, you're going to put these up on our Matt server. The reason that you wouldn't upload these directly to Weebly is because Weebly, unless you're paying for Weebly, then you don't have the ability to make a link that somebody can click on and listen to a file. The only way that Weebly would work is you click on a link and it downloads the file. I will tell you right now that I do not want to have to download every single person's music just to review it and listen to it. That's going to drive me crazy. So please do it the right way. And the right way would be, let's go real quick to, oh, and by the way, if you wanted to use a tool to get beats per minute, you can go to this Get Song BPM website and just do a search for website that gets beats per minute for songs, right? Anyway, and you can just drag and drop an MP3 file right here, and it'll give you the beats per minute, which is nice. Or you can just use something that lets you tap your finger. That's easy to find. If you just do a search for beats per minute tap, right, you're going to end up getting plenty of little web apps that you can use for free. Now, the thing I wanted to show you here is, so if we go to our Canvas homepage, here's our syllabus. I'm going to open this in a new tab. And for the syllabus, if you click on course requirements and you scroll down, you will see for Audacity, no, I'm sorry, not Audacity, for FileZilla, you will see the download option here. But then right next to it, you will see a tutorial for use with the Matt server. If you click on that, it will take you to a YouTube video that will show you exactly how you are supposed to use FileZilla to put stuff up on the server. And then also it'll show you how you can check to see if they're web visible. Now, if you look on the homepage of our Canvas site, you're going to see a link right here that says Matt 120 web server. So once you've uploaded your files, you will click on this and you can see it goes to a live web page. And then you're going to find your name, and then you would click on your name and you would go and look inside of that folder. And for those files, you would get the links of the files, for instance. So you get your links to the files, and then you would post those links in Weebly. And what that will allow for you to do is, or a user to do on your website, is to click the link and then it'll take you here. But this web server allows you to actually listen to music files, whereas Weebly will not let you unless you pay for it. Okay, so that's what you need to be doing, and have fun with Audacity. And you don't have to like make some grandiose piece of music or narrative that's got audio perfectly worked out like I did in that example, But I think that some of you guys are going to get really involved in it and you're going to have a lot of fun because it's a lot of fun to edit this stuff. So I encourage you to learn by doing.